Hi, my name is Allison Whitmore and I'm an author at Captive Quill Press. I'm the author of two novels, Forget Me Not, which is a historical romance coming of age story, and The Lost Heir, which is a young adult fantasy novel. I have two books coming out this year. One is called Cursed, and that's a fairy tale retelling of Cinderella's story. It's about her stepsister. And I have the sequel to The Lost Heir coming out as well. Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you guys about adapting novels into screenplays, because that's kind of also what I do. I am a script consultant, and I do rewrites, and I help polish scripts, and I also write them with my writing partner. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know some of the tips. I've adapted both The Lost Heir and Forget Me Not into various forms of screenplays. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. So here's some tips for adapting your book into a screenplay. So the first thing you want to do is identify what type of script you want to write. So that's the first thing. For example, I adapted my book Forget Me Not into a TV pilot series with my writing partner, and The Lost Heir into an animation web series, and that's what it's starting off as. But I also could write it as a screenplay. I've also adapted books for clients into scripts. So I'm going to focus on feature films for the rest of this, but know that the first thing you want to do is identify the type of script that you're going to write, and then you're going to go ahead and figure out how those formats work. Okay, so next tip. Because you're coming from a larger work, you should think of your book, get in this headspace, think of your book kind of as a raw material, kind of like a big block of marble, because you're not starting from scratch. So you want to think in terms of, almost in terms of revision in a way. You're taking your story and you're chiseling it down into a different type of work of art, a visual work of art. So you want to make sure that you're thinking visually. That's the next tip, really. Think visually. So another way to get yourself into that headspace is to go ahead and pick out 5 or 6 major scenes from your book that are very visual, that you think are very, very important to the story, and also that tie back into, here it comes, the theme. Okay, so theme. The theme is the next thing that's really going to help you, because if you identify the theme, you're going to be able to kind of focus your story. So you need to think about what you want the audience to walk away when they walk out of that movie theater. What are they thinking? Or when they stop looking at the YouTube video, or so whatever you're writing. So what do you want them to walk away thinking in a general sense? Kind of a major thing about life, right? So you want to make sure that that is kind of in those scenes that you're picking out, that those scenes kind of reflect that. You can have fun scenes too, but you still want to sort of be talking about your theme as much as possible. Okay, the next part is your character, your main character. Your main character needs to have one specific want or desire or drive. A specific want may change from the setup into Act 2-ish, basically based on what they need to do, and then at the midpoint may kind of swivel. But you want to make sure that you know what that character wants, also what that character needs, and then which might be different than what they want. And so the need needs to be filled in by whatever action they're taking throughout the story. So once they get to the end, that gaping hole, that missing need, is filled in by all of the stuff that that character did. So you want to make sure that that's what your character's doing, and then your antagonist is going against that, trying to stop that hole from being filled, trying to make it bigger, trying to make it worse. So you really want to be focusing on this drive to get your character to the end of the story, rather than all the fun, fluffy details that you can write about in your book. So that brings me to another point. You want to think actively. So you're going to think a little bit more about how the scenes are going from place to place, from beat to beat. So think very actively, and that doesn't mean that you're supposed to kind of lose the heart of the characters, because that's the great thing about adapting a book into a script, because usually those are really the best scripts, because those characters are coming from a deeper place. So you don't want to take that out, but you don't need a lot of extra detail. So you want to think actively, think from scene to scene, let those scenes be quick. Don't stay too long in those scenes. Also, in terms of character, if you have a lot of characters in your book, you want to try to kind of limit those. You can combine characters or you can just take them out. For example, if you're a fan of the Harry Potter series, you maybe remember the Creevy brothers. Well, in the story, there are 2 of them. In the movie, there's 1 of them. So Dennis and Colin Creevy, you have only Colin. And I was kind of like, where's Dennis? But was he needed? No. You need to think about that kind of thing. Even if it hurts you, you need to think about it, because you only have about between 90 and 120, maybe 110 really, as a first time screenwriter, pages to get your script, like to get your story into a script format. Then you got to think about how much less that script is page-wise, word-wise. So it's just a lot less. So you really have a lot less space to tell your story. The other thing is you need to think about when you're writing a story from, you're coming from a book with maybe from first person or third person limited, you want to think about telling a story more omnisciently, kind of from the camera's point of view. So think about the camera, also think about the audience looking inside. So they're not delving into the story like a book. They're sitting there watching it and identifying with the main character and following that main character through an adventure. But it's still kind of an omniscient sort of thing. So just think of that also. Another thing is you really, really, really need to get the proper software. I know it's expensive. You can use Selt. I don't really like that one, but it is free. There's also Writer Duet, which is free. I do like it. It can have bugs, but it's good. And also, I typically use Final Draft and Writer Duet together because I write with a writing partner. So we kind of write in Final Draft and switch it to Writer Duet. So you can do what you want, but get the proper software. And then the other thing is, the last most important thing is to read a lot of scripts. You can go to the Internet Scripts database and just Google that, and you'll find a ton of scripts. Make sure you're not reading transcripts, in that you're reading actual screenplays. They have it kind of marked. They'll say transcripts or not. So make sure you're reading the right kinds of scripts and try to get the format. I would read the most up-to-date the past 5 years because scripts change a lot. So do that. And you should be good to go. You can also do like something that I've done is like look at Gone Girl, for example. It's a book, a movie, and a script. So you can look at the script, the movie, and read the book, and you can kind of see how they did that too. So there's just all sorts of different examples. But also like Fantastic Beasts has a script available for you to read, and then you can look at that, and it's adapted from something completely different. So you can also look at the way to sort of adapt something that is one thing and turn it into something completely different, rather than following the exact book. You can do that too. So I've done that sort of with my animation pilot, kind of totally different. So anyway, so those are my tips, and I wish you the best of luck in adapting your book, novel, or short story even into a screenplay. Okay, bye!